New Mystics coach Tia Wenekere could hardly have asked for a better start to her tenure. Her side has dominated the Steel to win the opening game of the ANZ Premiership 64-38 at Truss Arena last night. They were out 22-10 after the first quarter. Two more games in round one. The Pulse against the Magic, 4:10 today in Palmerston North. Then tomorrow night at Pullman Arena in Auckland, it's the Stars against the Tactics. You can watch the ANZ Premiership live on Sky Sport, Sky Sport Now and Prime. Let's bring in former Silver Fern captain, World Championship winner, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, now Sky Sport commentator and netball analyst, Anna Stanley. Thanks for joining us, Anna. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well, thanks.
The Mystics, how much of a marker is this? What a win in game one.
Yeah, wasn't it a dominant display? I don't think people would have been fairly surprised. Look, they are the team to beat, I think, in 2023. They fell so short last year where they led for most of every round. And then, of course, Grace Nweke went down with an injury. So I think they have shown that they are class right through defence, right through to their weapon at the back in Grace Nweke.
Yeah, and I guess when you play against a team that's got Grace Nweke in it, you must be just drawn to her in your preparation of how to stop her. Would that be what other teams are thinking when they play the Mystics?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to just pin it on the goalkeeper and say, it's your job. As we all know, it's the work that gets done up front. So it's that real accumulation of defensive pressure. So, the pressure goes on everyone that plays against Grace. They've got to do their job to stop that flow coming through court, stop their middies getting on the circle edge, because when Peta Toiava gets the ball in hand, she's pretty lethal. She's got that fantastic connection with Grace. It's always a tough ask, but it never solely goes on one person. It's the seven out there that have to do their job to shut it down.
Yeah, it's quite the roster for the Mystics, isn't it? Apart from Grace, Suli Fitzpatrick, Phoenix Kalika, Michaela Sokolic-Beats, and they are, on paper, the best side.
Yeah.
As far as the Steel are concerned, though, I mean, if it wasn't going to be difficult anyway, they've lost their young English shooter, George Fisher, ruled out for the entire season with a ruptured ACL. What a blow for them. How difficult and challenging a season might it be for the Steel? Yeah,
well, I think we saw yesterday, not only were they missing Fisher, but they were missing their captain, Tahunga Selby Rickett, who's suffering a bit of an injury at the moment. So I think, they really did miss Selby Rickett down that defensive end. And yes, Fisher, I felt really gutted for her when she went down with that knee injury, because it was going to be a big year for her. She could have made the English team to go away to the World Cup. And she was such a weapon down the back for the Steel, down that shooting end. But, again, it gives opportunities for other players. We saw Heffernan take the court yesterday, and, her combination in the back with Aseta Otangavaia, who's come in, might be a combination that could flourish throughout the year.
The Pulse, defending champions. They have lost Alia Dunn, though. Tiana Maturo still there, Maddie Gordon, of course, and Kelly Jury. What will the Pulse need to do if they're to go back-to-back?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, they've got, Yvette McCausland-Jury at the helm, and she's pretty good at, when you look at the stats. She came in last year to the Pulse and again took them to the grand final and won it. So she knows how to pull her players together. So I think that's a real strength of the Pulse. I hear Maddie Gordon's, in pretty good form, looking really fit in the middle. I think it'll be that combination and that shooting end, which will be really critical for the Pulse, having lost Dunn, and she had formed such a great combination with Maturo. Pressure goes on Maturo a little bit. It's, again, a Commonwealth World Cup year for the Silver Fern, so she's still in contention down that shooting end. So she'll have to really step up in terms of her leadership at the back.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit about the World Cup and how much extra spice this adds to the competition in a moment. But the Magic, you look at their shooting circle, a couple of pretty experienced campaigners, Amelia Ranicinacio, Bailey Mears. They've got Claire Kirsten in there, of course, as well. What do you predict for the Magic this season?
Yeah, I think they could be a team that could topple a few of the favourites. I think they were a very new team last year, and they had so many illnesses and injuries, and it was really a horrible season for the Magic last year. So, Ekanacio's had another, 6 months getting fit after her second baby. So she'll be looking much sharper in the Magic dress. And of course, Bailey Mears, you know what you get from her. She's, very physical and got great athletic ability. So I think it's just that consistency for the Magic, but I think they are a team. They've got experience right through. They've got Makari at the back. They've got Claire Kirsten in the middle. So on a good day, I think they could be a team that could topple, some of the big guns.
And tomorrow night, Stars v Tactics. Now, the Tactics last season, but you look at their roster, some new recruits, Laura Malcolm, Alia Dunn, as we mentioned, Greer Sinclair. They've got Karen Berger there, Jane Watson, Kimi Ora-Poi, Tapia Selby-Rickett. It's a good team. Are they a bit of a smoky?
Absolutely. I'm picking a Mystics Tactics final, grand final. I'm going there early before even seeing the Tactics. Look, the Tactics have had the most changes than any other team, but they've also pulled in some big players. Great to see Jane Watson back in the black and red after having her baby. And, of course, Karen Berger. We saw them in Cape Town just recently in the quad series, both looking very fit and rearing to go. And they've also picked up, as you said earlier, Alia Dunn from the Pulse. So, they've got firepower right through the court. So, I expect it to be a Canterbury-Auckland final, North versus South. Good showdown.
All right, well, as a Pulse resident, I'll ignore that for the meantime, Anna, but we can, I'm sure, carry on talking across the season. Just on the final team, we haven't mentioned the Stars. They made the final last year, but they've lost Anna Harrison. She's retired. Kayla Johnson through pregnancy. But you look at the team and the names that jump out, I guess, Gina Crampton, also Mila Reulu Buchanan, Ellie Timu, Maya Wilson. They'll be strong again, presumably?
Yeah. I mean, they're huge losses to lose, Anna Harrison and Johnson. But, again, the pressure goes on a couple of those Silver Ferns. Crampton, Wilson, they'll be needing a standout season, given it is a World Cup year. So I think they'll certainly be missing a bit of defensive pressure down that defensive end. But, again, they've got a lot of experience through court. So, again, could be a team that could upset, the apple cart a bit.
And just to finish, as you mentioned, Netball World Cup year, South Africa later in the year, and this is really, a season-long trial for the Silver Ferns. Dame Nolene Taurua no doubt will have eyes on all of these matches. How much extra spice do you think that's going to add to the competition this year?
Yeah, a huge amount, because, she's not actually having a trial, so she'll be picking her team from the ANZ Premiership, so she'll want that to see that consistency from all her players. But, we saw some really good signs in the quad series, and whilst they didn't win the quad series, they lost to Australia in the final by 6, and I thought, they had a really bad final. So I am ever hopeful that they could retain their World Cup gold medal. When Nolene Taurua is at the helm, you just never know what they can do. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Ferns can produce this year at the World Cup.
Absolutely. We all are. Exciting season of netball, an exciting year of netball ahead. Anna, thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to watching the coverage on Sky and hopefully catching up again sometime soon.
Awesome.
Hello, I'm Francesca Rudkin.
And I'm Louise Airy. And we're excited to be working with the New Zealand Herald on our new podcast, The Little Things.
So Louise and I have been friends for probably over 13 years now, and we've been through it all: kids, relationships, health crises,
menopause.
Let's not get into that just yet.
But I think we can both agree that there are times we just wish we had one place to go for some explanations on what's going on with our bodies, our kids, and the relationships in our lives.
And this podcast is all about those little things that women need to know about getting older, raising kids, staying healthy, and taking care of yourself at whatever age and stage you're at.
So join us every Saturday to hear from the experts and get all the advice and tips you need.
Listen to The Little Things at nzherald.co.nz or follow us at iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.